Great, thanks. In Yukon, our partnership has been with Yukon Government Recreation and Parks Association of Yukon, and of course the municipalities and community clubs and First Nations that have been working with us. So next slide, Bill. So Yukon is a big place with a small population. Our capital city, Whitehorse, is home to about 28,000 people, but the other 16 communities are quite small. 2,000 people is the big one, and some are as small as 100 people. So all communities are accessible by road except for Old Crow, which is our one fly-in community. Outside of Whitehorse, healthy food's expensive and pretty hard to find. Some communities don't even have a grocery store. Imagine having to travel 480 kilometers, so like the distance from Toronto to Ottawa, to the closest grocery store. It shouldn't be a surprise to learn that people living in rural Yukon face greater food insecurity and are not as healthy as people living in Whitehorse. The recreation infrastructure in Yukon is fairly well developed, and most communities have a rec center or an arena. Communities have at least one rec staff person housed with either the municipality, a community club, or the First Nation government. Within the rec facilities outside of Whitehorse, many don't have vending machines, which is a positive. Sometimes the vending machines break down and they don't get fixed. And many don't have regular concessions. In Whitehorse, there are a number of rec facilities such as a multiplex, arena, and curling venue. The city of Whitehorse offers a variety of programs through their rec department, so it's a little different than some of the other communities. Next slide. The way we rolled out this CACO project in Yukon was informed by our experience of what works. Most communities in Yukon are really small and capacity is limited, so our approach has been to offer assistance to meet the needs of each community one-on-one. We didn't have any seed money to offer to communities, but we did have a coordinator hired through RPay, and she and others traveled to communities to have initial conversations and then conduct the audits of each community. And we found that this personal contact was key to getting buy-in. We applied and received funding through the Yukon Community Development Fund to bring rec leaders together for a workshop in May of last year. And that workshop gave rec directors lots of ideas for possible actions. Over the summer, they started planning, and in September, we met with them again at the Healthy Living Retreat. At that session, a number of rec leaders said that they'd like to develop a policy on healthy food and beverages and needed some help. So we formed a subgroup and developed a template policy. And now some of the rec directors are adapting it for use in their community and moving it forward. Next slide. We wanted to give you a couple of examples of what's been going on in the Yukon. This is a picture of Canada Games Centre in Whitehorse. It's a legacy from the 2007 Canada Winter Games in Whitehorse. So it's got 2 rinks, swimming pool, gym, indoor soccer pitch, and a wellness center. And it has 2 concession operators, Booster Juice and Subway. And it has vending machines. So our timing for this project turned out to be perfect. We approached City of Whitehorse rec leaders and discovered that their vending contracts were coming up for renewal. The staff and manager at Canada Game Centre were very interested in increasing the healthy food selections in vending machines, and that was really key to getting movement here. So they extended the vending contracts for a few months just to give them time to come up with a new tender. And then through our CACO contacts in our larger project, we were able to connect them to a municipality in BC that had revised its vending contracts, and they got details about what to put in. So the new tenders went out in April and set out a graduated increase in the percentage of healthy food choices over 3 years. They're increasing from 25% to 50% of choose most items. And as a result, there are more healthy choices available in the vending machines at Canada Game Centre. Next slide. The other example we just wanted to point to was a small community. Faro is a small town of 400 people. It was built in the late 1960s to support a lead zinc mine. At the height of the mine's activity, about 2,000 people lived there, but by 1985, a year after the mine closed, the population was down to less than 100 people. Today, it's rebuilding its local economy through tourism, but there's still a small town. People buy groceries at the hardware store. So the rec director in this community has a very supportive town council and has been able to make some significant changes over a short period of time. They've just signed on a new contractor for their concession who's on board with the guidelines for healthy foods. And to further support the concession operator's efforts, the rec director organized program leaders to order their healthy program food through the concession operator. This makes her business more viable. It's a win-win. She provides healthy food to the programs. Faro is also in the process of removing the 2 vending machines in the rec center. Hey, why put healthy food in them if you can just get rid of them totally? And they're taking their healthy food and beverage policy to town council in the very near future. We have some other communities taking the policy forward as well. Next slide. Some of the challenges in Yukon have been really the availability of healthy food, especially in small rural communities when fresh produce is not readily available. Many purchase non-perishable and frozen fruits and vegetables in Whitehorse and take them out to their communities. And in kids programming, smoothies using frozen fruit is a popular snack. Rec directors also speak about the challenge of dealing with kids who buy junk food in the store and bring it into the rec center. Some are pondering whether they could make the rec facility a junk food-free zone. We'll see what happens there. And generally, we struggle with how to assess whether the offerings in vending machines, concessions, or community meals are healthy. Many of the food guidelines developed for schools and facilities require the operator to determine whether foods fit into categories of choose most, choose sometimes, or not recommended. And these are often pretty complex. So we're struggling to find a simple but effective way to assess whether food served and sold is healthy, and something that concession operators and community people can use. We've developed a one-page guideline based on Canada's Food Guide that we hope will provide enough guidance to those preparing food. Easier to use for the prepared foods, you know, the stuff in the vending machines, but more difficult for the prepared. So next, what have we learned so far? We know that relationships are key to working together and getting things done, and it takes time, but it is really fundamental to moving forward. Our experience also confirms that recreation is a natural platform for promoting healthy eating. In the recent midterm interviews, one rec director said that he was proud to be part of this movement. They really feel like they are part of a healthy living movement, and in lots of communities, it's the recreation platform that's pushing that forward. The rec leaders in communities are the local champions, and by supporting local champions, we're making change happen and building sustainability. These rec leaders are the ones buying food for programs, managing contracts with concession vendors, answering kids' questions about why they can't have pop, and organizing the programming. So they're in a great position to stack opportunities to reinforce change. Recently, Yukon government provided support to communities to deliver a Kids in the Kitchen cooking skills program. There was a big demand for this program, and rec directors really jumped at the opportunity to reinforce messages and develop kids' cooking skills. Rec leaders also took advantage of opportunities in their contracting cycles to make changes. They found that starting fresh with a new concession operator or deciding not to introduce vending machines is always easier than taking something away. Starting with wherever communities are at works. Success breeds success. She talked about those small steps. So finding those quick wins and celebrating the small steps is really important. We've discovered that the swap it approach really works, limiting choices of unhealthy foods, switching over gradually, and reducing portion sizes are some of the strategies that are being adopted. Next slide. At the local level, we've described how we've partnered with the rec directors to assist them to make changes. In the midterm interviews, they said that they really appreciated the support from the project team, in particular the policy template and the educational materials we shared. At a higher level, the Yukon project team has benefited immensely from the knowledge, experience, and resources and project structure provided by the CACO 2 team. Being part of a larger project but having the flexibility to design the rollout to fit the Yukon context has really brought the best of both worlds together. Sustainability is important. We've seen too many projects come and go, and we want this movement to continue. Developing a policy template that can be used by communities will be a lasting resource, and that will guide future actions at the local level. We're also looking for ways to link project funding for recreation and community projects with a requirement to serve healthy food. Already RPAY includes this requirement in all their contracts and grants they provide, and we'll be working with other funding bodies to include this type of requirement in their funding agreements. So in conclusion, last slide, we'd like to conclude with a picture that says it all. The healthy food environment will grow if we pull together, give kids a hands-on experience, and have fun. That's it from Yukon.
Great.